And that to me was not how I wanted to spend my life. I really enjoyed being outside, working with plants, working in soil.
Talking about your background, and I'm going to be vague because I want you to be a little more specific, but in my words, you went from finance to viticulture. Can you tell us about the moment that triggered what I would assume is a pretty strong change of life?
Yeah, yeah. So I at some point I went to college. I had the good fortune of being able to go to college and decided that, I needed a major. I don't know how many times I changed my major and what I want to be when I grow up. But at some point, there came a point where you're like, you have to declare a major. And I decided that perhaps a business degree would be marketable. And I guess that's the reason to go to college, is to get a job. And what I found in that business line was I really enjoyed economics. It kind of worked for my brain. Things fit just right in that way. And these are just some intro classes. The majority in the huge lecture halls, right? And so the majority of the people, though, were like, what is this? This is nonsense. I don't understand any of it. And so I was like, well, I mean, I guess maybe that's a good indication. Maybe clearly, like, this works for me and it doesn't for so many. So I'll pursue this. So I did. And I really enjoyed it. And most of the professors were like quirky, nerdy, which I always find super cool. I think like the quirky, nerdy professors are the coolest. So I that worked as well. And so then at some point, upon graduating, or right before graduating, I was working at the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, and the work we were doing was really, really important. It was looking at like these metropolitan areas, and Congress had passed some legislation to require financial institutions to lend to low income neighborhoods and areas at a certain level. And so what
Mm.
we were doing was checking the data. Are they actually doing this, or are they not doing that? And so I found that really, really important work to make sure that financial institutions were actually lending to people that needed lending, and not just kind of, keeping certain neighborhoods and people out of that pool of money and accessibility. However, as a super low entry person, my work was data entry. I was just sitting behind a computer in a little cubicle, putting, click, 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 click on a keyboard. And that to me was not how I wanted to spend my life. I really enjoyed being outside, working with plants, working in soil. So at that point, decided, and perhaps I maybe had a bit closed mind as to what economics could provide as far as a career goes. But I was like, forget this. I am not going to be stuck in a cubicle behind a screen for the rest of my life. So I moved on and then pursued a horticulture degree, because I really wanted to get deeper into and understand more soil and plants and such.
Was there any kind of parallel at all between the two? I mean, the one thing I've been reading about quite a bit is if you're analyzing numbers, let's say on a spreadsheet, in a weird way, the vineyard also gives you metrics to analyze, etc. So am I reaching a lot there, or are there some parallels and some similarities?
Yeah, I found that those two trainings of economics and then later horticulture really set me up to to run vineyards and to oversee the whole operation in a certain way where there's a really clear eye on efficiency, right? I mean, because economics definitely looks for efficiencies in the system, or the lacks of efficiency to mitigate. And so having that training, I think, really allowed me to look really in detail at our production, and where the areas where we can become more efficient in our production, and where the areas that we could do a better job at the end to keep the price point accessible. I mean, one of the most amazing things, there's a lot of amazing things about working for Bonterra Organic Estates, but for me it was coming from Napa. I'm not from Napa, but after working for producers in Napa, and then going to Bonterra, was we're producing a wine that's made with organic grapes that's, $10 to $15. I mean, the accessibility, it's not 50, 150, $500, which is great, but not everybody can afford that. So to me, being able to work for a producer that really has this amazing product, high quality and value at a really approachable price point, But in order to do that, you really have to be incredibly efficient. So it was a great combination, I would say, of training, really. And to your point, yeah, I mean, when you look at kind of plant growth, there's plenty to see. If I mean, vines tell you what they need if you just know what to look for, you know. So kind of that observation of really wanting to observe and analyze how things are going, whether it's the vine, the health, the production, how we work, all those things, yeah.
So as we wrap up, people are hopefully hungry, they're excited, and they're inspired from whether it's a website or social media or something else. How can we learn more about you, Bonterra, the wines, and the farm bill if we can help in any way? But tell us where we should be visiting, where should we be browsing, where should we be shopping.
Yeah, that's great. I do think our website, has been refreshed, and so there's a fair amount of information now, how to get the wines, you know, if you can't find them locally, you can order from us, and then there's a good amount of information as far as the multiple initiatives. We didn't really speak to a lot of the things, you know, we're B Corp, climate neutral, zero waste, organic, like we said. I don't know, there's a whole list of them, so you can certainly learn more there on the website. If you're interested more in the regenerative organic certification, the Regenerative Organic Alliance has an incredible website, so I would go there and learn more about what all those practices are and all the brands. It's a global certification, has surpassed 1 million acres of certified land. There's hundreds of products now with the license, so it's growing quite quickly, and I love to see that. And I do think that I should acknowledge the market as far as the marketplace, right? Because what we've seen, and I think probably pushed more from our younger demographics, is really wanting to know, other than making a profit, what is your business doing for good? You know, what is the positive impact your business is having? And so I think it's really important that these certifications are understood and are known so that people can really support people, businesses that are doing a really great job at having a beneficial impact now and into the future.